welcome. My name is Nicole, for those of you who don't know me. I'm too many things to list in a descriptive manner, but I am a woman on a mission above all else, and I'm on a mission to leave the planet better than I inherited it. And so for me, that looks like inspiring and encouraging others to make some changes in our daily life and to show up a little bit more intentionally. And so I thought I would share with you how I do that and maybe inspire you to do the same. So today is the spring equinox. It is the holiday of Ostara, the goddess Eostre, the goddess of light or new light, of the dawn, the return of light, the return of the sun. In Christianity, the return of the sun is translated into a story about Jesus Christ and his resurrection from the tomb. But it's just a metaphor for the return of the sun. And it's a metaphor for that energy, that frequency, that feeling, that vibration of the return, and the return of good, the return of hope, the return of potential. When the sun returns, it brings about much needed decomposition. We all kind of, when the spring comes, right? Those first couple of warm days of spring, it's like, oh, we can poke our head out. We can start to clean up the nest a little bit and start putting ourselves out there again, right? And we can use all of the things that we've kind of been holding within for this hibernation throughout winter. We can use that and utilize that energy as a fertilizer for our soil. And these are all metaphysical examples that I'm sharing with you, but I want to show you a very physical 3D interpretation of them. So I wanted to invite you to find a comfortable spot and close your eyes and just take a few grounding deep breaths, or just uniting our spirit with our physical body. Your breath is your spirit, your heartbeat is your spirit. We're just coming back into our physical body here so that we may be grounded while we talk about this etherical stuff. So I actually already recorded myself doing this little spiel via Zoom, and there were lots of technical difficulties, and it just didn't work out for me to be able to record it or to be able to gather a group of women. I don't know what happened, but a lot of people weren't able to get in. And so I had myself a little cry and scream sesh, and then I ate my feelings. And then I kind of regrouped, and the lighting isn't as good as it was earlier, and my makeup isn't as good as it was earlier, and my outfit isn't as cute as it was earlier, but you know what? None of that shit even matters. At the end of the day, I have a message to get out, and I just want to get it out. So, and I want to do it today because the energy of this day is just so potent and powerful. So today is the spring equinox, and the goddess Eostre, she represents fertility. And when we say fertility, or we think of fertile soil, fertile soil is just filled with nutrients, so things that the plant, the seed, can use to build upon, right? And so this frequency of Ostara or Eostre, this goddess, her frequency is that vast womb and that potential, right? Excuse me. And so, excuse me. So, okay, so I was talking about Ostara and her frequency, right? And so when it comes to planting seeds, when it comes to being a human being on this planet and wanting things to come to fruition, if you tap into that frequency of Ostara and you call her energy in, it makes whatever you're trying to grow that much more successful, because it's not just you, it's a connection between you and the 3D and then the 5D or the etheric spirit world. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm a channeler, I'm a psychic medium, and I channel energy. And this is kind of an image that I've been sharing with people as I've been doing readings, so I thought I would just paint a little picture. So we have, this is like, this is how energy looks to me. So this is like a jawbreaker cut in half, okay? And so like a jawbreaker, there's all these layers. Hundreds of millions of zillions of unlimited amounts of layers. And the outermost layer would be source, or the creator, God. And then this void that this exists within is the goddess. So this represents the potential, and then this represents the creation, right? The creator. So the jawbreaker is the whole essence of the creator, right? And then as human beings, we're somewhere here. Each of these colors represents like a frequency or an energy. And this is very real, okay? This isn't just like a picture and an idea. This is very real. Like, we possess a frequency. Each of us possesses a frequency, and every living thing possesses a frequency. And so human beings are somewhere here. And this is spirit, source, creator, right? This is the goddess. And then this center here is Mama Gaia, or the center of our existence as human beings on this planet, okay? And so when we tap into, this is like a zoomed in version, okay? So this is you or me, right? This is a human being. And we tap into, for the purpose of this workshop, we're tapping into Ostara, we're tapping into Eostre, we're tapping into the goddess of new light, right? And we're bringing that through our physical vessel. We're transmuting it, or transmitting this frequency, and then we bring it into the 3D and we ground it into the 3D. And this connection from the 5D to the 3D, it creates your energetic body. And this energetic body is what positively or negatively charges the world around you. What happens is a lot of us don't have this connection. We're primarily here, and that creates imbalance. Some of us have this connection, but we're trying to disconnect from this connection, and that creates this imbalance. And then there's those of us who have both, but we're not using it for good of others. We're using and abusing it and manipulating it to prosper ourselves personally. And all of these distortions, all of these manipulations of this energy, this current distorts your energetic body, creates voids, creates bumps. So you're either taking on energy that you're not intended to take on, or you're pushing away energy that, so you think of negative and positive charges. So what I want to do is help people to understand this connection in a lot more literal sense, and to understand how to do this in a way that isn't woo-woo, hippy-dippy, and sounds all scary and hard to do. So today we're going to do this with Ostara. We're going to take her frequency and we're going to transmute it through our 3D experience. And in doing so, we're going to ground it into Mama Gaia, and we're going to connect Ostara with Mama Gaia. We're going to connect the frequency of new earth and the new dawn with our physical 3D body. And then we're going to rejuvenate and restore balance and restore harmony to our energetic bodies. Okay. So I'm going to start just by pulling some tarot for some general guidance for whoever is feeling called and inspired. I got a new deck by a company called Raven and Rogue. I wish I had their sticker. I would show you. It's really cool. But it's called the Territorial deck, and it's literally a tarot deck for learning how to read tarot. And it's created by neurodivergent minds for neurodivergent minds. So people who are ADHD, ADD, on the autism spectrum, we all have, our minds work in a different way. And so it's hard for me to study and learn the tarot, and this makes it really easy. And I'll show you why in a second. But spirits that be, we call forth on you today, this day of the return of the sun. Any messages that you might have for me. All right, Spirit. Please, one at a time, message. I'm actually going to put that back too. Want me to have it? I'll take it back because I didn't like how all those cards fell very sloppily. So this is just getting that connection. It's just making it stronger. That's what this is doing. And you can use tarot. You can use rune stones. You can use, I mean, there's so charms. There's so many. Really? Okay, I'm not going to draw cards then if that's how you're going to freaking throw them at me. I split the deck. Try again. You can read. You can meditate. There's lots and lots of ways to strengthen. And a lot of us, especially those of us who are having spiritual awakening, are hyper focused on this enlightenment, right? Of this expansion. We're trying to expand because human being perspective is like 3D here, but soul perspective, and each of us have a soul, and your soul and the way where your soul views everything from is like 5D perspective. So they're close to each other, but they're not the same frequency. And then we have source. And so a lot of us are going out, and that's great, but we need to bring it in as well. We need to bring it into the 3D. That's the whole purpose of life on this planet. That's the whole purpose of us is to bring what's out there in the etheric into here, the 3D. And so when you learn about how easily it is to create an imbalance and to create distortions, I apologize for the commercials, by the way. When you do that, all right, I feel like I need to pull this a different way. So I'm going to shuffle 3 more times and then split the deck and draw from the top because this is ridiculous. I don't have the patience for it today, Spirit. I really don't. More shuffle. So yeah, we failed to bring it into the 3D and integrate it or download it and deposit it into Mama Gaia, and we create this distortion or this chaos within our energetic field. And then you see our planet and you maybe understand a little bit better. Split the deck. You understand a little bit better why our planet is the way that it is, because we've got so much distortion, right? And just illusion and just craziness going on. So pulling in the goddess Ostara and the tarot, I've got, and this is what the cards look like. So there's no pictures, it's just words. And this says 4 of Cups, and then this says the reversed meaning, and I pulled it reversed. So I've got the 7 of Wands reversed, exhaustion, overwhelm, lack of confidence. Others and their competitive nature have left you feeling vulnerable and inadequate. Questions about your decisions and choices leave you overwhelmed by the judgment of others. You may want to back down and give up, but know you're stronger than that. You fought way too hard to be where you are. I can resonate with that. I kind of relate to that, and I'm still here. I'm still doing it. And then the 4 of Cups came out reversed. Sudden awareness, choosing happiness, acceptance. So this is where I'm at. You've opening yourself up to the possibility of a fresh start. And then the Lovers came out reversed. Infidelity, separation, disharmony, loss of balance. So maybe experiencing conflict or pressure with friends, family, coworkers, or yourself. Maybe there's imbalance in a relationship and you may be avoiding responsibilities. Make amends and let go of the past. So I feel like as a collective, especially like women, like the divine feminine energy, like we're at this point where we're just like absolutely fed up. We're fed up with the world and the way that it is. We're fed up with our relationships, the people in our lives. We're fed up with our partners, and we're just feeling fed up. You know, we're at our wits' ends and wanting to resolve that. But knowing from personal experience that blame is irrelevant and it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't fix anything. And so at the end of the day, you know, finding, you know, why something happened isn't as important as what you do because something happened. And so, you know, just this morning when I tried to go and do the Zoom and it didn't work out, I was definitely discouraged, but I still learned, you know, I learned about going live. I learned about, you know, the pressures of gathering a group of women and, you know, holding an online ceremony. So being able to, like it says, avoiding responsibilities. Women tend to, like, because we are the witness, essentially divine feminine is the witness. We are going through a struggle in our life and we tend to look at the other person and we tend to look at their behavior and what they did and how that contributed to this. And I think it comes from a place of shame. I think that we already carry so much shame. So this idea that, you know, we might potentially be to blame for everything brings on more shame. But I went through a lot last year and I learned firsthand that regardless of the shame, I still manifested a situation and I didn't want to believe that I manifested it. And I felt horrible that I manifested it, but I did. And as women, like I said, we tend to focus outside of ourselves and in doing that manifest these situations. And so my focus this morning was outside of myself, and because of that, for that reason, it kind of derailed the whole experience. So it's really important to focus on yourself and to stay in your own lane, especially when you're feeling triggered. Even if you have an agreement or a disagreement, with somebody, or you have a situation where something very real is happening or it seems very real, nothing can be solved by you going outside of yourself and rearranging the world around you. The only way to truly solve anything on this planet is to go within and make peace with the parts of you that have a problem with that reality in the first place. And it's easier said than done, especially when you get out of, personal experience and into things like tragedy and abuse and all of that stuff. It's like, it makes it a little bit more challenging, but it still holds true that at the end of the day, anytime that you look outside yourself and you judge, it's a part of yourself that you're rejecting. Your external world is a direct reflection of your internal world. And so these cards here are just showing that there is loss of balance and there is disharmony around, but the blame doesn't matter. If it's your fault, if it's my fault, or if it's his fault or her fault, it doesn't matter. It just is what it is. There's a lack of balance. And at the end of the day, you could look at everyone and go, okay, they did this wrong, they did that wrong, they did this wrong, they did that wrong. But that's not going to do anything. The only thing that's going to work is looking in the mirror and going, okay, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? What do I maybe want to do in the future? because you only have control over yourself, literally only have control over yourself. And so when something goes wrong, there's this other quote that I love that says, anger is a tool for self-reflection. It calls us to go within ourselves. And when you're angry, it is a lighthouse, it's a red flag, and it's calling your attention within. So I think that's why this came up, because collectively as women right now, the divine feminine is really struggling with her relationships and wanting resolution, but also wanting like what's the word? Not revenge, but like credit where credit is due. Like, it's not just my fault. Like, I want this person to take responsibility for their actions, because if they did that, then they could change, and then our situation will get better, and I don't have to change. And like, we get in this place where it's like, I don't want to change, so you change, and this changes, and that changes. And we do it as moms all the time. We rearrange everything outside of ourselves, trying to make everything feel good here. And it's, you know, it works enough to the point where we all keep doing it, but it's not as effective as going about it directly. So let's take this, I'm going to pull a rune for Ostara. We got sigil or sigil. One of the great runes of victory. Its appearance virtually assures success. It's a rune of great power, and much power will be available to you at this time to affect changes in your life. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what all of this whole thing and everything I'm trying to say is about returning the power to its rightful owner. Because by being a victim and placing blame outside of yourself and saying that you're just a victim of circumstance and this stuff happened to you and you did not play any part at all in calling it in or attracting it or vibrating with it, that you give your power away, and you make yourself a victim, and then you remain powerless. So there's a lot of power in, you know, going through something horrific and going, yeah, actually I called this in because I wasn't loving myself enough and I left a void. So it's not I wanted this to happen and I consciously created it. It's subconsciously I wasn't taking care of myself. My needs weren't being met. And so because of that, my internal world reflected it, right? And the external reflection, or the thing that's going on in the 3D, that's the last step of the process. So if it's happening in the 3D, it's already been happening within your vessel, and it's already been happening etherically. This is just the transmutation of it. And so to get mad at the people that are part of the 3D, to get mad at and point blame at the people who are in the 3D, or to sit there and say that there's things that they should have done differently in the 3D, it's like a day late and a dollar short, because it started up here and then it came here and now it's here, you know? So you've had time to intervene, to make changes, right? And things like this happen, especially tragedy happens to about face, you know? It's like something like that happens and it's like enough to just stop you dead in your tracks, and like you seriously reconsider everything you are and what you've done so far, and you take a new direction. So there's purpose in the tragedy, there's purpose in the pain and suffering. So returning this power to its rightful owner, to you, by taking accountability for your life. Any opposition that you may encounter can be swiftly overcome. It's leaving you with time to relax and take it easy. It could reflect, depending on what other runes come out with it, that there's an imbalance between work and play, and that you need some more play. I don't feel like that's really the case right now. Yeah. Often this rune refers to the sort of person who is very self-centered and who wants to be totally in charge of his or her life at all times. If this cannot be done, anxiousness and helplessness set in. Excuse me. So the divine feminine has been playing the victim for way too long. The divine feminine has been riding along with the current of chaos and then turning around and going, oh, this current is so terrible and treacherous. It's like, then get the fuck out of the water, bitch. Like, you have the power to stand up and walk away from anything that does not serve you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to suffer. Jesus Christ came here for that exact reason, like to show us, to prove to us that we don't have to suffer. God was like, okay, they're not getting it. Like, you go down there and you sacrifice yourself and then they'll finally get it. Okay. And he came down here and he sacrificed himself, and then we all fucking misconstrued it and freaking forgot what the whole message was. Excuse my French. I like to swear. So at the end of the day, blame and fault have nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant. It's just, there is a current of life and you're on a current. And if you're going through circumstances or situations that don't feel good, that you don't like, you have the power and control to stop them and to turn the tides, to turn your ship around and to make a different choice. And oftentimes those things that hurt are happening so that you can make a different choice, because you've been calling that in. Maybe you've been praying for guidance. Maybe you've been asking God for help. Maybe you've been trying to manifest or dream up a new life for yourself. So you expect it to just happen the way you want it to happen, but that's not how 3D works, and that's not how energy manipulation works. Like, if you are deciding that you no longer align with this frequency, then you have to destroy anything that's on that frequency so that you can align with a new frequency. And so it's going to cause turmoil. It's going to cause chaos. It's going to cause pain. We all suffer on this planet in some way, shape, or form. Every single one of us. It's, to be human is to suffer. But suffering is a choice. So you can choose to suffer, or you can choose to not let it define you, you know, and to just accept that this is part of the human experience and reroute yourself so that you don't feel that way anymore. That was a beautiful rune. Thank you, Ostara. Okay, so I'm trying to think how I want to do this. I want to just like hold things up for you. How long have I been? Okay. All right, well, a cute little practice. I'll just do it, a little one on here. Okay. So a simple little practice that you can do to connect with the spirit of Ostara, spring equinox, Easter. Because Easter, let's talk about this for a second. Easter is the Christian holiday, the resurrection of JC, right? Except for it's determined by the lunar cycle. And we celebrate it with Easter bunnies and colorful eggs filled with junk. And so when I started to look into why we do those things, because I don't understand how the resurrection of JC goes with bunnies and Easter eggs, I found that the bunnies and Easter eggs were actually part of a pagan tradition of the holiday Ostara, which is celebrated on the spring equinox. And the reason why there's colorful eggs and a bunny is because the colorful eggs are offered to Ostara this time of year. They're the most nutrient dense eggs of the season that the chickens lay. That's why they're so colorful. They're very vibrant, because most of us don't know this, but chickens don't lay eggs. Like, outdoor chickens don't lay eggs during the winter. They go, you know, they hibernate, so to speak, energetically. And so all of that energy that they use, all of the stuff inside that they use to make eggs, they hold on to until the spring. And so because of that, it creates these nutrient dense, vibrantly colored eggs. So we offer those to Ostara as a sign and a thank you, gratitude for fertility. And the hare is another Wiccan pagan talisman that they use that represents the moon, the lunar cycle. Rabbit has 30-day cycle. The moon has a 30-day cycle. Both have lots of movement within that 30-day cycle. Again, apologize for the commercials if you can hear that in the background. So the hare is just another offering, or just another representation of that energy, that energy of the new dawn, of fertility, of abundance, of prosperity, of the return of the sun, right? So Easter is kind of this weird mashup of these different kinds of traditions. And so, you know, you can go to church and you can read about JC if that's what tickles your fancy, but it's not going to bring that energy or the frequency into the 3D. You know, like going to church is like connecting this way, right? But then you go home and what, you do an Easter egg hunt, and like you don't even know why you're doing an Easter egg hunt. You don't know what it means or what it represents. Like the colorful eggs filled with things are the nutrient dense, the nutrient rich, you know, the blessings of spring, the blessings of winter, really. You know, it's the harvest of winter, right? It's some of the richest soil of the year. It's some of the richest eggs of the year. It's, you know, anyways. So something really simple that you can do is start some seeds, plant some plants at home. I have a lot of different options going this year, but you can do this for really cheap. And buy yourself some cage-free or organic, but I prefer cage-free because that means that the chickens are eating everything, you know, under the sun versus being fed, you know, like a feed or something. If they're cage-free, they're wandering around, they're eating insects and all that kind of thing, flowers. And so those shells, those eggshells are going to have the most calcium in them, right? So calcium is great for your soil. So you save the eggshells. I just had this jar in my kitchen, and when it would get filled up with the whole eggs, the dried eggs, once they're dry, you crack them and then you put them somewhere to dry. I just put an egg carton on my counter and just let it sit and dry. Once they fill up, you just crunch them down and then you keep adding. So I already did this. This is the second half. So I had about 2 cups worth. And it just creates this fine powder. You can use a coffee grinder if you want, but I mixed it up already in my soil. Then I got these little terracotta planters from the Dollar Tree. They were 2 for $1.50. I also added some Epsom salt to my soil. Okay, so we've got our soil. Okay, I got some seeds that I saved from a bell pepper. I don't even know if they're gonna take, but I'm just gonna plant 3. So I'm poking 3 little holes in the soil. 1, 2, 3. And then I'll water these off camera. Push the soil down lightly. And there we have it. And now, as this plant grows and you nurture this plant, you're nurturing that relationship with the spirit of Easter, if you will, with Ostara, with the new dawn, with this potent time of year. This is the 3D representation of what this time of year means. Like, all of the seeds that you plant right now are going to bloom and come into fruition. And the more intention and work that you put in the soil, the more fertile it's going to be, the more prosperous your seeds and your blooms will be. So, I have more eggshells here, and I have more soil here, and I have more seeds here, and I have celery that I started from the cutting, and I have green onions that I started from the cuttings, and I have garlic that sprouted that I'm going to try and grow, and I'm going to plant all of those things. Like I said, I got these for a couple bucks at the dollar store. These I had left over and saved from plants that I've transplanted or they've died throughout the years. I have the bag of soil. This I think I got, I'm gonna do this with my kids. I think I got this like at the dollar spot, I think at Target, I think last year, maybe 2 years ago. I don't even know. if the seeds will grow, but instead of just planting seeds, I'm using eggshells, and I'm working the soil, and I'm consciously calling forth this energy of Ostara, this energy of the new dawn, this energy of this frequency of hope and restoration, and I'm calling it forth, and I'm instilling it, and then I'm literally growing things. And then if I grow peppers and I eat those, I complete the cycle, you know? So it just brings this into completion. It creates this connection, it creates the harmony, it creates the balance that we need. And then we heal the planet as each and every one of us restore that harmony within our own energetic body. We encourage and inspire those around us to do the same. So that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for joining me for this little spring equinox ritual. If you want more information, please follow me on all my platforms. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I also have a mail list that you can sign up for. I'm going to be releasing a lot more content like this, just talking about our existence here and how we can make the world a better place. It's up to each and every one of us to make the world a better place. And as long as you're focused outside of yourself and distracting yourself, you're giving your power away. And at the end of the day, yeah, I've been through a lot of shit. I've been used and abused and mistreated my whole life, unfortunately. And most people wouldn't blame me if I threw in the towel, or if I, was filled with vengeance and animosity. But I know that, like I said, I'm a woman on a mission. I know that God gave me life for a fucking reason. I didn't get sent here to be used and abused. And if you feed into that frequency, then you're essentially cutting yourself off to all of this expansion up here. I live up here in the 5D. I see the world from the 5D. I always have. I just have a soul perspective on everything. And that's why I am who I am and how I've survived everything I've survived, and how I've gotten this far is because I'm mainly up here. For me, grounding is really crucial and something that I just learned how to do like 10 years ago, and I have to practice constantly because like I said, I'm always up here, which that's what creates the disimbalance or the disharmony or the imbalance in my energetic field. But there are people who are the opposite of me, who are completely shut off here, and they're only 3D, and they don't even believe it, that this exists, or that they have any connection to it, or that this connection is optional. This connection exists whether you want it to or not, whether you think it does or not. It's an energetic connection. So that creates an imbalance, right? That creates rigidity that then pushes away energies, and it just creates chaos. So we want to restore the balance to our energetic being. I just love this image so much. Turned out really well. Okay. A few deep breaths, ground in, and then I'll sign off. Thank you, Ostara, for being present with us today. Thank you, ancestors, for your wisdom and knowledge and being passed down and restored through our bones and the soil. Thank you, Mama Gaia, for holding us and giving us life. Thank you, Sun, for returning. And thank you for joining me here today.